Hey everyone, Billy Hale. I have had a lot of new people subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I think it has a lot to do with me just tooling things. So basically what I'm doing is I'm shooting video of me tooling and letting you watch, which always helped me and why I started doing this in the first place. I just wanted to see somebody do it. So let me preface all this by saying I am not a Tandy expert. I've never entered a contest. I've never taken a class. But I have looked at a lot of stuff on the internet. I own a lot of books. I just bought a new book. It's not new, but one I really like. So one thing I'm always looking for are designs. And so here is the book, How to Carve Leather by Mr. Al Stolman. And the great part about this book, and I've owned a few of these books, is I'm always trying to find designs, and I'm looking through the book right now, bear with me. I'm always trying to find designs to put onto things, and I'm pretty picky about what I like. So what I did like about this book, and I'm so picky I can't find anything I like, so I'm just going to find, well, I like this. So in this book are designs like this, and then the tracing patterns on the other side. So a book like this is always good, but let's not get off track here. Basically all I'm doing on this video is this is a kit from Tandy, and it's the checkbook kit. So I almost always these days create my own things, but I know that if I did that in this instance, I would get all bogged down in the design and creation, which takes longer than actually making the piece. This is something I'm going to give away for a charity, and they just wanted a little something to throw in, and so I thought, well, I'll make a checkbook. And so these are actually pretty good. I'm picky about my interiors, but I did a roper wallet like this, and so I expect this to be all right. Now, the leather itself is pretty thin, but it's tooling really well. So I've already done this side. See how close I can get it. And so what I wanted to do is point out a couple of things and then just start working. So let's turn it this way because that's how I see it when I tool it. As we go, I'm going to start out by, I have this one piece left to do. I'm going to start out by using a swivel knife to cut everything. Then I'm going to bevel. And then I'm probably going to go in and shade. And then I'm probably going to go look at all my ends right here coming off of my leaves and things like that, and mule's foot and all that good stuff. And then when I feel good about it, I'll probably go in and do my cuts, my decorative cuts. So anyway, that's what I'm doing here, and anything unique that occurs, I'll do a voiceover when you look at it. So I usually speed these things up so you don't go crazy. And here we go. So I'm going to start out by wetting my leather. I found that doing one side then the other is the best way. That way it doesn't dry out too fast. Plus, that's pretty intricate design. So doing one, I did one a night and then would go watch TV with my wife. So you always want to sharpen your blade. I made that little sharpener there with a paint stick and a piece of leather. And that swivel knife, I got it from Springfield Leather. It's kind of their main swivel knife. I looked at a lot of high-end knives, and this thing seemed to be comparable. It's a good price, and it's working for me. The only thing that drives me crazy, you can see it in this picture, there's a little screw right there between my two fingers where you tighten up the blade. And if you grab it from that side, it will dig into your fingers. And after you do this for a few hours, it's really annoying. So maybe I'll go in and sand that smooth or something so it's not an issue. So if you haven't cut leather, this is how you cut leather. Never be afraid to turn the leather. I like to stay in the groove, and sometimes I'll turn and cut at the same time. I'm always just looking for a smoother, rounder cut. But if you don't get a perfectly smooth round cut, you can also use a beveler. As you're beveling, you can smooth things out and make them look good as well. And what I'll do is I'll try to find as many cuts as I can make from one side as possible. and then rotate and rotate. And you'll always miss a few cuts. And so when you're done, just verify you got them all. I enjoy this part. I'm not sure why. It's more enjoyable with really good leather because then it cuts like butter. Some leather that's not done, you know, processed as well is harder to cut. Got to have a sharp blade. You got to make sure everything is nice. And all this stuff comes with time. The more things you cut, the better it'll be. Now we're going to bevel. Now I've tried a lot of bevelers, and I'm probably going to buy a few more as time goes by. But this one has, the edges are sort of rounded. And I found that that allows me to move along. One other thing I'll say, I'm not sure if this is a pro tip or just what works for me, but I guess that's me talking when you hear it chirp. But they'll say to hold the tool right above the leather and then move as you hit. And I never could do it. It never made any sense to me. So, I think I beveled the wrong direction right there, and I realized it too late. No one else probably will realize it other than another person that tools leather, so I'm not worried too much about it. But they say to get a good smooth bevel, you have to hold it over the top and then hammer and float it. And I never could get the float, you know. So what I do is I lightly hold, the trick is to keep it in the groove. I lightly hold the tool in the groove and hammer. And I found that if I don't press too hard with my hand, but let the hammer do all the work, the tool will actually move along the line. I also tip it back a little bit to keep it moving down the line. And other things, if you want a deeper bevel or your bevel to be more out in the leather, then you can push it away from the cut a little bit, and that way you can get a little more bevel onto the leather. When you don't want to do that is when you're close to like a stitching edge over here. Then you want to pull a tool back towards you to get less of a bevel so that you're not beveling into where the stitching is going to go. Whenever I see these videos sped up like this, okay, so I'm looking at the actual piece finished to make sure that I am beveling all the right directions. You can bevel one way or the other, and it definitely, there is a right side and a wrong side. So if you don't know which side you should be beveling, reference the image. If you designed it yourself, then I guess that's up to you. But what I was saying is when I hear this or watch this sped up, I always wish I could bevel this fast in real life. So I'm looking again. Something was confusing me here. Oh, I know what it was. I'd left out a leaf cut. Right there, there's a big blank space. I still don't see it yet. No idea what I'm saying. Also, they make things that would, like if you're not perfectly straight or it's a little uneven, you can go back or you can use a tool to smooth it out. And the only problem with smoothing out things after you've done it is I feel like it takes out some of the tooling marks that I like and smooths those out too. So I try not to do it. We'll see what I do after I finish all this. The other thing I'm trying to do, since this is two sides the same pattern, is I'm trying to mimic there. I did. I found it. I was like, oh, I left out that. So I just went back and recut it, and then I'll bevel it. And now everything makes sense again. These are little leaves. So at this point, it looks pretty, if you ask me, crappy. If I had to stop there, I'd say this looks no good. But I know that once we get all the, and now we're pear shading. I'm using an old one. This is from the 60s. It just has one row of lines going one direction, which in the early days of tooling were hard for me. I couldn't get them to move. And now with my light holding light and letting the hammer move it, I can make them work. And I like them a lot. So you'll notice that I flipped it around and used the skinny side on the little leaf there so I could get in. And so that's what I'm doing there as well. Sometimes I'll skinny side it like that and then flip it around and use the fat side to finish. So now I'm looking to see what I have not shaded. Okay, I'll move this light in a second. I remember, there we go. So what we're doing now is I'm finding all my end cuts and taking care of those. And then I'm going to cheat in just a second with a mule. So use a mule foot on cuts like this. And I have a cheater mule foot that has multiple indentions in it. The only problem with that is you can't make it curve. I haven't found it to be a big enough of a problem to go the other way, but I guess at some point I'll have to do it like a real leather tooler and do that way. So now we're veining it. So this I've never done before. I've never veined the outside of a leaf, but that's how it was on the paper, and I really like it, man. It really adds dimension. If you're going to antique it, it takes the antique and really makes that leaf pop, and it just really makes the whole thing work. So after this is my last one, what I figured out was start at the bottom and go all the way as far as you can go on a leaf and just keep doing it everywhere you can go. And now I'm doing it on this little coil piece. When I tool, it's all visual. I don't have anyone that I've learned from resharpening my knife because I know, oh wait, this is a different knife actually. Am I really this far along? Okay. I'm going into the decorative cuts now. A lot of people will re-wet their leather for a decorative cut, which is great because it makes the cuts cleaner and easier. But I've found if I re-wet, a lot of my tooling comes up and doesn't look as good. So this is an old knife. It came in a set of old tools I got on eBay. The blade in there, I forget where that came from, but I think it's an old blade too. It's kind of fat. So this knife I almost always use for my decorative cuts. And if you only have one knife, you might want to look into buying a few more because you'll find certain knives that do certain things better. So as you can see on that leaf, I'm just following how I pear shaded. I'm doing little nicks with the very tip of the blade. My favorite are the nicks. They just look so good. Doing things like this can be dangerous in that you really have to apply a lot of pressure to get a good cut that looks intentional and good. So I'm nicking in between my edges there, nicking some more. What I'll do is I'll maybe do a decorative cut and nick and follow the stem all the way down to the bottom. What am I doing now? Oh, so we're at the end now. This is the most important part, is backgrounding. Backgrounding really makes everything pop. Come off the leather, look real. And don't overlap your backgrounding tool. You want every background stamp needs to be separate. So what you can do is start at one place. I think I do it here. And then so here I'm just coming off straight and trying not to touch. But you can turn it at an angle and work that thing all the way around if you're good at it. And there it is. It's finished. And then when you're done, if there's some things that you don't feel like look perfect, oh, I forgot about that space right there. You can go back in, take a good look, take a look at everything because you will have forgotten to do a few things. So I think a kit like this is great. It's not that expensive. If you mess up, it's not $100. I think this kit's like $29 or something like that. And here it is. I took some tan or dark tan and took a paintbrush and went on the interior. And here it is after I've finished it. And now I'm stitching it. I've never stitched a unit before like this, so don't be afraid to learn new things. I hope this has helped. I'm Jim T. Graham, aka Billy Hale.